Hello and a very warm welcome to Business Live. So Facebook is today rolling out plans to gather more information from users' photos in the European Union. The changes are being made ahead of new EU data laws. They're known as GDPR, which actually come into force next month. It'll mean Facebook users in the EU will be asked to opt in to facial recognition in photos and in videos. It's a service that they can't currently access, but in other parts of the world, users can choose to actually opt out of this service. So Facebook will also ask 13 to 15-year-olds to get parental permission before they can include certain information in their profile or see ads based on their personal data. This isn't, though, a response to the Cambridge Analytica scandal, but it does come as the social media giant deals with the revelation that the personal data of up to 87 million of its users was improperly shared. Speaking in front of US senators last week, the company's CEO, Mark Zuckerberg, said Facebook did need to do more to protect its users.
Thank you very much. Well, with me now is Dean Armstrong QC, cyber law barrister at Setford Solicitors. Dean, thanks so much for joining us. So just explain to us, first of all, what exactly are the challenges facing Facebook now in terms of these new European laws coming through? Because it is, after all, a US company, isn't it?
Yes, exactly, and that's the point. Of course, the EU sanction, which is GDPR, is an EU-based regulation. But the effective sanction will be that what the EU can do, it can outlaw data transfer to those countries or entities which are not adequate in terms of the GDPR regulation itself. So whilst Facebook is not directly regulated, the indirect effect would be that it could be that other people are allowed to advertise or trade or deal with Facebook, and therefore with their lifeblood sapped out. So they would have to ensure that they are at least nodding towards GDPR at the very least.
And what does this mean in terms of the facial recognition plans that Facebook has at the moment? Is it a stumbling block?
It's potentially a stumbling block. It's interesting that it's being portrayed as being an opportunity brought forward by GDPR, because GDPR has to have or insist upon effective consent. There are various murmurings of the fact that the facial recognition program is not based upon effective consent, because what they're saying is you can only have, or if you sign up to this thing, if you accept this, that, or the other. So what they can't have is consent which is not effective.
So is it opt in and opt out? So you have to just...
You opt in, but it's important to remember that that can't be part of a package. So consent has to be effective and it has to be unambiguous.
So, for example, you can't say, if you don't opt in, you can't get A, B, C.
Precisely. If you say you opt in, but if you don't opt in, you can't get service A, B, C, because that's not effective or proper consent. And so there are suggestions that Facebook's attempt at this aspect of their service is being effectively on the basis that you can't have it unless you do this and the other. That would not be allowed under the EU regulation, but that would be outlawed.
Facebook also says it's planning to ask 13 to 15-year-olds to get parental permission before they can include certain information about their profile. I assumed you had to get parental permission already, but that's not the case.
Well, you can have a Facebook account from the age of 13.
But with or without permission from your parents?
As I'm saying, with permission.
Okay.
But the situation with this is that you cannot, as a person under 16 under GDPR, consent to various data dealing. And so in those circumstances, you have to get express consent. Consent has to be going forward, or will have to be going forward, explicit, therefore affirmative and unambiguous. So therefore, Facebook is recognising the issue that surround the 13 to 15-year-olds to say, we want an affirmation of your parents' consent.
What's it all going to mean going forward for Facebook in Europe? Are we going to see significant changes? Because people often complain, don't they? Well, look, I'm on my account. I don't really know what access they've got to what information. I don't know how to opt out of things that make it really difficult. Is it all going to be simplified for the average Facebook user like me?
One of the EU commissioners was concerned about how they would deliver GDPR. They have said that this Facebook issue, is basically one of the biggest bonuses for them, because what it shows is that you have to be, or you must be in charge of your own personal data. So going forward, Facebook has to recognise that there is this move towards you control your own data, not somebody else. And so, in short, Facebook will have to be much more aware of the obligations and consequences of using other people's data, and they must always get permission. And that's the biggest change.
Okay. Okay, Dean Armstrong, thank you so much for joining us.